My name is Mike Smith. I work for FSG Energy, and FSG Energy provides energy management and building automation systems for Verizon Wireless. This training will walk you through how to use your energy management system and how to deal with any problems that might arise. Verizon has set corporate set points, a standard for set points in the space. And during the occupied hours, when the store is open, those set points are 72 degrees for cooling and 68 degrees for heating. And then when the store is closed during unoccupied, those set points are 80 degrees cooling and 60 degrees heating. Okay, this is a Viconics 8600 thermostat. These are the thermostats that are typically installed at the Verizon stores. This is specifically for a CRS site, which is a Clarity Reach site, which is the FSG system that we've developed specifically for Verizon Wireless. So the larger number on the screen that's most prominent right there in the middle is displaying the actual current temperature in the space. And you can see what the current set point is by looking at the numbers on the right hand side where the arrows are that show up and down. You can also touch those arrows and it will actually show you the cooling set point. And if you were in heating mode, it would show you what the heating set point is. The number on the bottom, the smaller number that is labeled outdoor, is actually your return air temperature. It just, I know it says outdoor, but it's actually your return air. So don't let that throw you. And you'll also notice that on the bottom it's labeled for what RTU number it is. This one is RTU2. And if you push the up arrow on the right hand side of the screen, you can increase your set point, or if you push the down arrow, you can decrease your set point by up to 2 degrees. And when you do that, we call that a local override at the thermostat. It will cause the thermostat to go to that new set point, maximum of 2 degrees up or down, for a maximum of 2 hours. And then after 2 hours, that will time out and the set point will go back to the corporate standard. So you'll notice on the top right hand corner of the thermostat there is a symbol that looks like a fan. Now around the outside of the fan there's a circle, and right now that circle is lit up. Okay, when that circle is lit up, that's telling us that the fan is running in continuous. And if the circle is not lit up, if it's grayed out, then that tells us that the fan is running in auto. The difference between running in continuous and auto is when it's in continuous, the fan runs all the time, regardless of whether there's a call for heating or a call for cooling. When your fan is running in auto mode, it only runs when there's a call for heating or a call for cooling. So you can actually run your fan in continuous and get some air circulation, and most of the Verizon stores are set up to run that way so that you're circulating air in the space and you're not actually bringing on the cooling, but you're getting a cooling effect because you've got the air moving throughout the building. A reason you might want to run your fans in auto is because in the winter time, when it's really cold outside, if you turn your fans on but you don't bring the heat on with the fan, it might feel like the units are blowing cold air on you. In fact, they're not. They're blowing the same temperature air that is in the space, but it'll feel cold because it's cold outside. So typically in the summer, we run the fans in continuous, and in the winter, you will run the fans in auto. On the EMS panel, there are 2 push-button overrides located on the bottom of the panel. There's one for the exterior lighting, and then there's one for the interior lighting. Pushing these overrides, or these push buttons, will provide a 2-hour override of the lights if they're currently off. They will not override the lights off if they're on, but they will override them on if they're currently off. 2 hours is the limit, and this works both for the exterior lights, which are your signs and your parking if you have them, and your wall packs, canopy lights, and exterior building lighting, or your interior lights, which includes both your merchandise and your sales lights. The override is 2 hours, so if you forget to turn the override off, it will time out after 2 hours. Or if you only need the lights on for a few minutes, then you can push the button again and it will clear the override. On the side of the lighting contactor panel that FSG has provided, which is the smaller panel with the FSG logo, you will notice an emergency lighting override button. Now this is a switch that can be turned either to the left, which is the off position, or to the right, which is the on position. This button is provided specifically for when all other efforts to get your lights on in the store have failed. This is your one last attempt to get the lights on, and if you flip this switch to the on position, putting the lights in emergency override, and they come on, then that tells you that there is something in the EMS system that is keeping the lights from coming on. Essentially, this button will bypass the EMS system altogether. Likewise, if you put the override button into the on position and the lights don't come on, that tells you that it is not an EMS issue that you're dealing with, and you need an electrician to come and look at your breakers or your power. On occasion, you may need, due to inventory or a meeting or some sort of special event, you might need a calendar or a schedule change. You might need the lights in the HVAC to come on either earlier than they normally would or later than stay on later than they normally would. If that happens, then FSG would request that you give us a 24-hour notice using a work order through the help desk, and request that we adjust the times according to the early work being done or according to how late you're going to stay. FSG can make these schedule changes remotely, and so all you need to do is put the ticket request in and we'll look after it from there. The exterior signs, and if your store has them, wall pack lighting and any lights that are on the outside of the building, sometimes they're called canopy lights. These lights are controlled by a photocell and not by a schedule. What that means is that there is a device that is measuring the amount of daylight, and when it gets dark outside, that device will cause the signs and the exterior lighting to turn on, and when it gets bright outside, it will cause those same lights to turn off. The benefit of using a photocell as opposed to a schedule is that on a really dark, gloomy day, when it could be the middle of the day when the schedule says that those lights should be off, you can actually have those lights come on and people can see your signs and your lights, and your safety concerns are looked after. On occasion, FSG might call and ask you to turn the power off to the EMS panel. Inside the EMS panel, there's a power switch. This switch is essentially controlling all the power to all of the EMS equipment inside that panel. The reason that we might ask you to do that is because you could have had some sort of an electrical storm in the area, or it could simply just be that the EMS controller, like your computer at home, needs to be rebooted. In order to do that, you would simply open up the panel and turn off the power switch in the top right corner and leave it off for 15 minutes and then turn it back on.